This is going to blow your mind. The market was alive with activity. Vendors shouted to attract customers, their voices blending into a cacophony of sound. The air was thick with the smell of exotic spices, mingling with the sweat of countless bodies moving through the narrow aisles. It was a sensory overload, a vibrant tapestry of colours, sounds and smells. Amidst this chaos, Aryan sprinted through the crowded market, a blur of motion against the backdrop of vibrant stalls. His heart pounded in his chest, each beat echoing the urgency of his flight. The colours of the market whizzed past him, a dizzying array of reds, yellows and blues. Clutched tightly in his hand was a small, hard drive. It was no ordinary device. It held secrets that could change everything. Aryan's grip tightened around it, his knuckles white with tension. His mind raced as fast as his feet, calculating his next move, aware that every second counted. Behind him, 3 angry men pushed through the crowd, their faces twisted with determination. They were relentless, their eyes locked onto Aryan like predators on the hunt. The gap between them was closing, and Aryan could feel their presence like a shadow creeping up on him. There was no time to think, no time to plan. Aryan's only option was to keep moving, to put as much distance between himself and his pursuers as possible. He didn't dare look back, knowing that even a moment's hesitation could mean capture. Suddenly a hand reached out from the crowd, fingers brushing against his shirt. It was a close call, too close. Aryan's heart skipped a beat, adrenaline surging through his veins. He twisted his body, narrowly avoiding the grasp, and pushed forward with renewed urgency.
Gotta keep moving, gotta stay ahead.
Aryan ducked under a seller's table, sending a cascade of colourful cloths tumbling to the ground. The vendor shouted in protest, but Aryan didn't stop. He used the brief cover to gain a few precious seconds, his mind racing with possibilities. He jumped back up, his legs burning with the effort. The chasers were still close behind, their shouts growing louder. The market was a maze, and Aryan had to navigate it with precision. One wrong turn, and it would all be over. He pushed through the crowd, his eyes scanning for an escape route. The market was packed. A sea of faces and bodies that seemed to close in around him. Every step was a struggle, every movement a battle against the tide of people.
Stop him!
He's getting away.
Then, out of the corner of his eye, Aryan spotted a small alleyway. It was dark and narrow, a grimy passage that seemed to promise both danger and salvation. The smell of decay wafted from it, but Aryan didn't hesitate. It was a risky move, but Aryan had no other option. The alley was his only chance to lose his pursuers, to disappear into the shadows. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead. With a final burst of speed, Aryan darted into the darkness. The yells of his chasers echoed behind him, growing fainter with each step. The alley swallowed him up, and for a moment, Aryan felt a flicker of hope. He wasn't safe yet, but he was one step closer to freedom. Aryan wasn't really a thief. He was a man caught in the web of circumstances, a web spun by the harsh realities of life in the city. Every day was a struggle, a battle against the odds. He had dreams, aspirations, but they were buried under the weight of survival. The city with its towering buildings and bustling streets was both his home and his prison. It was a place where dreams were often crushed, but Aryan held on to his with a fierce determination. He was just trying to survive. The city had a way of pushing people to their limits, and Aryan was no exception. He scavenged, he searched, he did whatever it took to get by. But deep down, he knew he was meant for something more. He wasn't just a survivor. He was a fighter, a dreamer. The hard drive he found was more than just a piece of technology. It was a symbol of hope, a beacon in the darkness. And the hard drive held the key to his survival, to a life away from the bad things that followed him. It contained information, secrets that could change his life forever. Aryan knew that with this hard drive, he had a chance to break free from the chains that bound him. It was a risky move, but he was willing to take that risk. He had nothing to lose and everything to gain. He risked everything for this chance, for a future he only dreamed of. The city was a maze, a labyrinth of streets and alleys, but Aryan knew it like the back of his hand. He ran with a purpose, with a fire in his heart. Every step he took was a step towards freedom, towards a life he had always wanted. The skyline with its twinkling lights was a reminder of the possibilities that lay ahead. He wasn't a fighter either. Confrontation was not his style. He preferred to avoid fights, to find a way around them, but that didn't mean he was weak. Aryan had a strength that came from within, a resilience that kept him going even in the toughest of times. He knew how to pick his battles, how to stay out of trouble. It was a skill he had honed over the years, a skill that kept him alive. But he was fast, nimble. His agility was his greatest asset. He could navigate the city's streets with ease, dodging obstacles and weaving through crowds. It was like a dance, a rhythm he had mastered. His speed was his shield, his way of staying one step ahead of danger. It was a skill that had saved him more times than he could count. Years of living in the city's dangerous parts had sharpened his instincts, made his body strong. He had learned to trust his gut, to rely on his senses. The city was a jungle, and Aryan was a survivor. He knew how to blend in, how to disappear when needed. His instincts were his guide, his compass in the chaos. He used his speed, his smarts, and the city as his protection. The alleys, the narrow paths, they were his sanctuary. He knew every shortcut, every hiding spot. The city was his playground, and he was the master of it. He moved with a purpose, with a determination that was unbreakable. He was a man on a mission, and nothing could stop him.
I have to keep going. For her. The thought of her, the one person who meant everything to him, was his driving force. She was his reason, his motivation. Every step he took was for her, every risk he took was for her. He couldn't afford to fail, not when so much was at stake.
Aryan knew he wasn't unbeatable. He was aware of his limitations, of the dangers that lurked around every corner. But he also knew that he had something that couldn't be measured, something that gave him an edge. It was his determination, his will to survive. It was a force that drove him, that kept him going even when the odds were against him. One wrong move, one pause, could be his last. The stakes were high, and Aryan knew it. He couldn't afford to make a mistake, not when so much was riding on his success. Every decision, every action had to be precise, calculated. It was a high-wire act, a delicate balance between caution and courage. But the thought of failing, of being stuck in the darkness, pushed him forward. He couldn't go back, couldn't return to the life he had known. The darkness was a place of despair, of hopelessness. Aryan was determined to escape it, to find the light. It was a journey, a quest for freedom, and he was willing to do whatever it took to achieve it. He had to live for her. She was his beacon, his guiding star. The thought of her gave him strength, gave him hope. He couldn't let her down, couldn't fail her. Aryan was a man on a mission to survive, to thrive, to live. And he would do whatever it took to make that happen. The alley got smaller, the walls closing in. Dead end. Aryan felt hopeless for a second, but he quickly shook it off. There's always a way out. He just had to find it. He looked up. Fire escapes, rusty and shaky, crisscrossed the building. A familiar thrill ran through him. This was his place, the high-up playground where he felt alive.
Here we go.
He jumped and grabbed the metal railing. He pulled himself up, his muscles burning. He moved easily, climbing higher, leaving the yells of his chasers behind. The air was heavy and still in the empty warehouse. Moonlight shone through the dirty skylights, making long shadows on the dusty floor. Aryan held Maya close, her head under his chin. He smelled her hair, a little bit of jasmine in the stale air.
It's almost over.
I know. We'll be safe soon.
He wanted to believe it, to erase the fear in her eyes. The hard drive held their future, a ticket to a life without fear, a life where they could finally relax.
We'll disappear. Find a place where they'll never find us. A small cottage by the sea, maybe. Or a big city on the other side of the world. It doesn't matter, as long as we're together.
He lifted her chin, gently rubbing her cheek. Her eyes, big and bright, held fear and hope. He had to keep that hope alive, for both of them.
I promise we'll be free.
He kissed her, a kiss that was both a promise and a prayer. The sound of tires screeching broke the silence. Aryan tensed, his body protecting Maya. The warehouse doors burst open, filling the space with bright light. 3 figures came out of the darkness, their faces serious in the glare.
You should have just given us the drive, Aryan.
Aryan felt a chill. He knew that voice. He knew it anywhere.
Veer.
Betrayal, sharp and cold, hit him hard. His own brother, the one person he trusted, had tricked him.
Why, Veer, we were supposed to do this together, escape this life, remember?
Veer stepped forward, his face lit by the headlights. The kindness, the friendship they once had was gone. Now there was a scary emptiness.
Things change, little brother. There's more power, more money than we ever dreamed of, but I need that drive.
It's not about the money, Veer, it never was, it's about being free.
A fight started, brutal and desperate. Aryan fought with a fierceness born of betrayal, each punch fueled by a lifetime of pain and anger. He fought like crazy, knowing that his life, their future, was at stake. The warehouse became a blur of movement, the air filled with the sounds of fighting. Aryan dodged and weaved, his fists hitting hard. He refused to lose, not while Maya's life was in danger.
Go!
A motorcycle started, its headlight cutting through the darkness. Maya threw Aryan a helmet, her eyes begging. Aryan didn't wait. He ran to the motorcycle, his heart pounding. Every step he took echoed the urgency of the moment. The city around him seemed to blur as his focus narrowed to the task at hand. He knew that every second counted and there was no room for hesitation. The motorcycle stood as a beacon of hope, a means to escape and to fight another day. His breath was ragged, but his resolve was unwavering. He had to reach it no matter what. He could hear Veer yelling angrily, but he didn't look back. The shouts were filled with rage and desperation, a stark contrast to Aryan's determined silence. Veer's voice was a reminder of the chaos they were leaving behind, a world that was crumbling under the weight of its own corruption. Aryan's mind raced with thoughts of what lay ahead, but he couldn't afford to be distracted. The mission was too important and failure was not an option. He had to keep moving forward no matter the cost. He had to trust Maya, had to believe in the future they were fighting for. Their bond was forged in the fires of adversity, and it was stronger than any obstacle they faced. Together, they had faced countless challenges, and each one had only made them more resilient. Maya's unwavering support was his anchor, and her belief in their cause fueled his determination. They were not just fighting for themselves, but for a better world, a world where justice and hope could prevail. Their journey was far from over, but they were ready to face whatever came their way. The engine roared as he sped away, the warehouse disappearing behind him. The cityscape blurred into a mosaic of lights and shadows, a testament to the life they were leaving behind. The roar of the engine was a symphony of freedom, a declaration of their defiance against the forces that sought to control them. Each twist and turn of the road was a step closer to their goal, a journey that was as much about survival as it was about hope. The wind whipped around them, a reminder of the speed at which their lives were changing. He held Maya tight, the wind hitting their faces. The world around them seemed to fade away, leaving only the two of them and the road ahead. Their connection was unspoken but profound, a silent promise that they would face whatever came together. The wind was a constant companion, a reminder of the freedom they were fighting for. Each mile they covered was a testament to their resolve, a journey that was as much about the destination as it was about the path they were taking. They were not just escaping, they were moving towards a future they believed in. The hard drive was safe, but their fight wasn't over. It held the key to exposing the truth, a truth that could change everything. The data it contained was a beacon of hope, a weapon against the darkness that threatened to engulf them. But with it came great responsibility and the knowledge that their journey was far from over. They had to protect it at all costs, for it was not just their future that depended on it, but the future of countless others. The weight of their mission was heavy, but their resolve was unbreakable.
He didn't know what the future held, but one thing was certain. He would protect Maya, no matter what. Their journey had been fraught with danger, but it had also been filled with moments of profound connection and unwavering support. Aryan knew that as long as they were together, they could face anything. The cityscape before them was a reminder of the challenges they had overcome and the ones that still lay ahead. But with Maya by his side, he felt invincible. Their love was a shield, a source of strength that would guide them through the darkest of times.
The open road stretched in front of them, a path leading towards an unknown but hopeful future. The dawn was breaking, casting a golden hue over the horizon, a symbol of new beginnings and endless possibilities. The journey ahead was uncertain, but it was filled with hope and promise. Each sunrise was a reminder that they had survived another day, and each mile they travelled brought them closer to their goal. The road was long, but it was theirs to travel, and with each passing moment they moved closer to the future they had dreamed of. Together they would face whatever came, with hope in their hearts and determination in their souls.